So thank you, Kevin, very much for joining us for this special evening. And
It's great to be here.
I was curious how you became involved with the whole slavery issue in the first place.
You know, it's kind of funny and kind of simple, but I picked up a leaflet at a public event. It was in the mid-1990s. I used to live in London, and I was at a public event, and I saw a leaflet that said, "There are millions of slaves in the world today," on the front of this leaflet. And I thought, no way. It's not possible. And in my ego, I said, and how could that be true if I don't know about it? When we're talking about slavery, when we work on slavery, we're really talking about slavery. Slavery in a way that could be recognized as slavery at any time in human history. Now, if you're new to this, you could well be saying, holy cow, how on earth did we get to 27 million people in slavery? That's a lot of people in slavery. That's double the number that came out of Africa in the entire 350 years of the transatlantic trade. 50 years ago, there were 2 billion people on the planet. Today, it's just under 7 billion. We've had this enormous explosion of the global population. Most of that growth has been in the developing world in the last 50 years or so. About 1 billion people in the world live on about $1 a day. And I don't know if you've been even to the poorest countries in the world, you know you don't really live on $1 a day. You barely exist until you get sick, and then you die on $1 a day. If the rule of law operates, the poor are protected. And if the rule of law breaks down, or if there is a significant amount of corruption in a country, so that the poor are not protected, if the poor cannot get their rights, it means that if you're poor, if you're living on $1 a day, if you're desperate, someone who has violence at their disposal can reach out and take you. But of those who come into slavery anew, they're not kidnapped. They're not forced. They step into slavery, they walk into it, usually of their own volition, for doing and by doing exactly what you or I might do in the same situation. I've been told the same story in different languages in many different countries. The criminals who control the people in slavery number only a few million, and they operate like mom and pop operations with 5 or 6 slaves on average per slave holder. There is no enormous economic vested interest here whose profits and capacity depend on slave labor. There's no enormous cotton industry or sugar industry or any industry that's dependent on slave labor today. And around the world, we have this understanding that in almost every society, the number of people who are in slavery are actually a fairly small part of that society. In other words, for the first time in human history, slavery has been pushed to the edge of a precipice of its own extinction. It's out there on the edge, and that's one of the reasons why we don't notice it. Why people say, wow, there's still slavery? Well, it's because it's over there behind the tree, standing on the edge of the cliff, waiting for us to give it a good hard kick in the butt and knock it over the edge. As long as we can find it, as long as we've decided to kick it, and as long as we're willing to pay for the boots to kick it with. I mean, this is what it comes down to. We have to bring that kind of commitment and resource to bear to make that happen.
I know that you were invited to head up the office for the United Nations that handles human trafficking and slavery, and that you turned it down, which I think is rather interesting, and I was curious why.
There were certainly a lot of things about that job that were appealing. And I've never lived in Vienna, and that would have been very nice indeed. But, you know, the UN is glacial. It moves so slowly, and it has to please every member country. And everything is a compromise within the United Nations. And that's probably as it should be. But when we're talking about bringing it into slavery, I just don't have the patience for compromise. I really want freedom now for the people who are in slavery now. We can bring this to an end. This could be the generation that says enough.